Steve Gilbert.
Yeah, hey, we're very, very excited about having Steve. Obviously he's one of the most well-known high school coaches in the state of Ohio. And, when I learned that he was right here in our backyard, I started thinking about ways of how to get him on our staff for many reasons. Steve was head coach for over 25 years. He's in the Hall of Fame here in high school. He brings a lot of knowledge to the game. And, he's been a big help already, and he's another name for us out there for recruiting. Mm-hmm. He's connected and is coached and worked with almost every high school coach in the state. Now, I'm not trying to date him by no means, but we've already talked about the jabs he gives me sometimes.
I figured there's going to be one in here somewhere.
But no, so yeah, Steve Gilbert joined us this season, and very, very pleased to have him, and he's been a huge help.
Coach Gilbert, thanks for joining us here on the Coach Gary Goff Show.
Well, it's my honor and my pleasure to be here.
Tell me how it happened. Talk about the conversation when Coach Goff convinced you to come on staff here.
Well, it kind of started when I saw Coach was hired. I looked at the staff that he had, and I noticed there's nobody from Ohio. And I said something to my wife. I said, well, maybe I can help just get him familiar with schools to visit to in Ohio. So I came over and just, at that time I had retired. And I just introduced myself and just kind of mentioned that, I'd be happy to help out if there's anything I can do. If you need some schools to go to. And the next thing I know, we're sitting in his office and we're talking football. And then I mentioned that, well, maybe I can get involved in spring ball. The next thing I knew, a position I wanted to coach. So I'm involved in spring football, and I had a great time. It was just so much fun to be back on the field. And then the next thing I know, I'm going through camp. And it was just great. So it's been a tremendous opportunity for me. It's something I've always wanted to do, is try college football, and Coach gave me that chance. So I'm just delighted to be able to help out.
Well, and the one thing Steve doesn't know, and we might as well let the cat out of the bag, is first of all, football coaches never retire. We never retire.
Yeah.
It's in our blood. But more importantly, his wife's actually paying me to pay him
to get him out of the house.
So he's coaching again.
She was so used to him not being there very often, and he came home and she said, Coach Goff, can you help me out and get this guy out of the house?
Well, Nancy wants to go shop. She likes reading a book. She likes her quiet time. Well, after 25 years of that, here comes Steve at home,
Yeah.
And
That's true.
All that chatter and yelling at the field now comes home. So.
Right. No, just kidding there. But Steve's a big help, and we've enjoyed having him around. He's fit in with the guys. And he brings a lot of knowledge, to our staff in many different reasons. And I've spoke with Steve a lot. Hey, Steve, let me ask you a question right here, just one-on-one. Something I might not want to share with the other staff.
Sure.
Because he's paid his dues. He's been in the trenches before, and sometimes it's hard to bounce ideas off of somebody who's only been coaching for 5 years or so.
Well, Coach Gilbert, what's your what is your title here as assistant coach with Tiffin University? What are you coaching?
Right now, I'm helping out with the offensive line.
Okay.
And it's probably at this level where I felt the most comfortable, and that's where I think I really learned football. Is when I was coaching at Norwalk High School. The head coach put me in charge of the offensive line, and as you could tell, I probably never played the offensive line. So it forced me to learn the position as much as possible. So just over the years, I've just researched it and gone to a lot of different practices, and this is where I feel comfortable. And I thought if I could help with the offensive line, and it's been fun.
Talk about that transition from being a high school head coach for all those years to, you said you wanted to try the college game, going from that head coach position at the high school level to an assistant coach position at the college level. How's that transition been for you?
The toughest thing was during spring practice when we went team session. I was used to watching everything. You wanted to see every player, and you just had a handle on everything. And then I had to really pull my eyes back, or I had to watch 5 guys.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really an adjustment, and it just took some time. But at this point, I didn't need the other stuff. I miss being on the practice field, being around players and coaches, and that's the part of the game I really miss. So this has been so much of a reward, just being able to work with players, more one-on-one. Coach Preston handles most of the schemes and the overall picture, where I can pull a kid to the side. We work on his steps, maybe his hand placement, maybe his pad level was wrong. So it's more of an individual instruction time, and where I feel like I have some input. And to be honest with you, the kids have been so receptive. Mm-hmm. I couldn't, for somebody just coming in off the streets who they really didn't know, but they've been extremely coachable. The staff has welcomed me with open arms, and it's part of people on the outside don't understand the workings of a coaching staff. Sometimes it's game time, it's intense and it's a fiery situation. But the relationships you deal with the coaches, we always used to tell our players, these are your best friends, the people you can count on. And I kind of miss that. So this has been my part. I just want to help out. Whatever knowledge I have, I'm willing to share. And like Coach said, football coaches, it didn't get out of my blood. I was away for the first year was easy. Kyle was playing, and I played at Dad for a year. Mm-hmm. I just watched his senior year, had a great time. The second year, I started coming out watching their practices, and I'd get itchy and I'd want to step in and say something and I couldn't. And then now, I have that opportunity. So this has been just pure joy on my part.
Well, you have lots of knowledge, as you said, to offer to the staff and to the young players on this football team. What about you? What have you learned since you've been on the staff here?
The one thing I do know, GLIAC's pretty good. It's
week in, week out.
It's just the speed of the game is unbelievable. And I've learned so much with Coach Goff's system and the air raid on the passing game and ways to I like the way he organizes practice and things like, if he ever got back in the position to be a head coach, which won't happen, but I like his practice organization and how things are always constantly moving. So there's, as a coach, you have to keep learning or you shouldn't be coaching. There's always something out there you can pick up. I enjoy sharing ideas with the other coaches on things we used to do. Special teams have been a huge plus. All the different things they do on special teams really opened my eyes up, some things I could have done, or maybe if I ever had a chance to do it again, things I would add to special teams. So it's been a great learning experience for me. I've learned probably more from them than I've been able to share with them. But I just wanted, and Coach talked about this, we've talked one-on-one, and I said, I knew what it was like to be a head coach. Sometimes you just needed somebody to talk to, and that person didn't have to say anything. You just wanted to bounce ideas off somebody, Mm-hmm. So I offer I'll come in and sit, and I'm a good listener. And I feel very comfortable, in that mode. The ego went years ago, and so I'm a person. I just want to help out and do whatever I can for this program because, Coach we're in the right direction. We're crawling, and Coach wants to sprint, but we'll get to that sprint. Mm-hmm. We're making progress, and it's a slow progress, but the way the kids have been, and you can tell things have been said in the community by people who don't know a lot about football, but they know how people act, and they've been very positive. So I think that's a sign that we're headed in the right direction.
Coach Goff, talk a little bit about, like Coach Gilbert said, having that person to bounce your ideas off of, just to talk, whether it's talking at or talking to someone, but having somebody with the head coaching experience that Coach Gilbert has. How has that been as your guys' working relationship?
Well, I probably never really understood that until I became a head coach. I don't know if you actually can understand. As an assistant coach, assistant coaches talk to assistant coaches. Mm-hmm. Lots of times coaches are scared or timid to approach the head coach because of, there might be egos involved, or they don't want to get shot down in front of the rest of the staff, this, that, and the other. And I've been in those shoes. And when you become a head coach, I think you start to learn that you're not really one of the guys anymore. You're not one of the assistants anymore. Yeah. So, it's good to have somebody with some experience that, if I want to bounce an idea off of, or I want to, hey, what do you think about doing this right here? And are we wrong for thinking this or trying this? At least now I've got somebody who I can lean on a little bit and say, hey, with your experience and all the years you coach, have you been in this situation? Sure. How did little Johnny act when we discipline this way? Or we know there's a right and a wrong, and we definitely want to be right all the time with our kids and discipline. But a big part of coaching is presentation. How are you going to get this young man to do what you want him to do and be excited about it? Sure. And even if it's the punishment, hey, we got to make sure we're disciplining this young man the right way, and he understands that this is being done to make him a better young man or a better player. Mm-hmm. So whether it's X's and O's, whether it's discipline, no matter what it is, it's good to have somebody that has kind of been through that, and you can lean on. And obviously, I've got coaching friends out there, and Coach Mummy's is my mentor, and I talk to him a lot. But it's just different. You got a guy right here next to you that sees the situation, and sees where the program is and where it's heading. So it's been a blessing. My only regret is that I didn't get him on the staff the first year I was here, to be honest with you.
I'm sure.
But, we had so much problems that first year with, players and discipline. I might have ran him out of here. He might have said, thanks, coach, but no thanks, So things happen for a reason. So he's on the staff now, and we're very thankful.
How is it, that relationship on your side, Coach Gilbert, being the one being asked the question, not the one asking the question?
Yeah, I think it's great because Coach made a great point when I was a young assistant. Now, this is years ago when I was a young assistant, but I wanted to be a head coach. And I worked for a coach in Bowling Green, and he says, you don't know what it's like to be a head coach until you are a head coach. Mm-hmm. Because like Coach said, there's a difference. And a lot of it is the players view you different because there is like an invisible barrier where, when I was an assistant, it seemed like the players would always come to me for, advice or, we could talk. When then I became a head coach, I felt I was the same person, but there is an invisible barrier. And you just have to be able to try to not overcome it, but that's just the way it is. So I think the players need people they can go to, and in the same way the head coach needs somebody just to talk to. And at this point, that's a role I really cherish, where somebody would come to me for advice. I take great pride in a lot of the former players I have in coaching. They're head coaches. Some of the last staff I had at Columbia, and those guys are head coaches. I've gone and talked to their team. So that's one of the things, it's like you tell the kids when you play for them, you become one of my boys.
Sure. So
you always take care of them. And it's the same thing in the coaching profession. You there's just a special bond with coaches. And it's true that those guys who are head coaches, it's a unique situation that a lot of people they don't understand, the workings of the entire program. And I'm just here to share ideas and to listen, be a listener.
Well, I think Steve also takes a little bit of pride in knowing that I've got I'll have the same haircut as he has here in a couple more months.
It's like you guys have been around each other for 20 years. So
I told him we're talking Saturday after the game, and obviously we're in the dumps and we're upset and we want to be better right now. And I tell him, Steve's telling me, hey, Coach, it's going to be okay. We're doing the right thing. Don't worry. And I kind of look at him and smile, and I said, Steve, really what you want is here in a couple of years to be able to stand right beside me, put your arm around my shoulder, and us look in the mirror and you laugh and say, hey, we look just like each other. I used to look young like you, but you're not anymore.
Well, they say coaching will age you pretty quick.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. Well, Coach, what made you decide to get into be a football coach? What was it that pulled you in?
When I was a senior in high school, my dad coached Little League football in Toledo. And it just kind of hit me. This is what I want to do. And I'm really lucky because I knew when I was in high school that I was going to be a football coach. There was no doubt in my mind. The only problem was at that time you had to have your education degree. You had to teach in order to coach. So it got me through college. But I was bound and determined that I was going to be a football coach. And then I knew within a couple of years I was going to be a head coach. I didn't know it was going to take 12 years, but I got to that point, and it's the only thing I've ever wanted to do. And Coach had talked about with Nancy, it's the only thing I can do. I'm not very good at home. If anything needs fixed, she calls the boys. I have no skill in any of that stuff at home. I mow the grass, I can turn on the microwave, and that's about my limit at home. So she's very happy to have me at practice. There's no doubt. So it's worked out. But no, to be honest with you, it's all I've ever wanted to do is coach.
Well, I'd say it worked out. I'm going to embarrass you a little bit here with some of your accolades. Inducted in the Ohio High School Football Coaches Association Hall of Fame in 2011 after a 37-year career as a high school coach and teacher. 1993, you're named head coach at Tiffin Columbian, where you stayed 17 years, posting a record of 137-44, which is fantastic. 10 league championships, 8 trips to the state high school playoffs. A career record as a head coach is 189 wins and 72 losses. But we're not overdone yet. 5-time Northwest Ohio Coach of the Year, Ohio High School Athletic Association Sportsmanship, Ethics, and Integrity Award in 2008. President of the Ohio High School Football Coaches Association in 2000. President of the Northwest Ohio Football Coaches Association 98 through 2000. Regional Director for the Ohio High School Football Coaches Association from 95 through 2010. Board of Directors for the Northwest Ohio Football Coaches Association 95 through 11. Head coach for Ohio in the Big 33 game versus Pennsylvania in 2000.